time for New York City baseball, past, present, and future.
I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zigzag Man, in Alameda, California, 420 studio, right across the bay from San Francisco by the sea. And I'm privileged today. I'm joined by a fellow who produces the Oakland A's radio broadcast. His name is John Trinidad. It's his first time, and what can I say? Thanks for being here, John.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Ralph. Thanks for asking.
I wish I had
And you have a third party here, too.
Oh, yes, my new co-host, John. I'd like you to meet Wayne Unger from New York City. Wayne Unger.
Hi, Wayne.
On Trinidad.
How you doing, John?
Hi, Wayne. Nice to talk to you.
Same here. So, listen, in the interest of disclosure, John, I'm actually calling from the streets of New York City, and I'm driving. So if you hear any kind of like thumping and noise, like, just like the parts and tools in the back of my van making noise, and and don't pay any attention to horns and sirens.
I wish I could ask you to grab a slice for me.
Oh, yeah. That's what I miss about New York is that pizza. Where's your favorite? Well, I don't have to ask Wayne because Wayne and I grew up in the same neighborhood in Jackson Heights, Queens. And Wayne worked for what he considers to be as good a pizza place as any in the world, Sam's Pizza on Northern Boulevard, when you were a kid. And there's two or three in my mind that are there. John, when you visit New York with the A's, what do you take in as far as New York?
I am a slave to cats and Papaya King.
Oh. Hot dogs and corned beef.
What got you, John? What got you into radio? What got you into sports, baseball? How did it all start for you?
Well, I was a freshman at the College of San Mateo, and I was fortunate because they had a campus FM radio station and a TV station. And one of my instructors there was the great Michael Amatori, who is the voice of KSFO and KGO. And he tipped me off to a part-time job with Franklin Muley.
Oh, wow. Franklin Muley produced the original Giant broadcasts.
That's correct. An old ad man way back.
Right. And part of that broadcasting team was Bill King, who
that's correct.
He was the third guy in the booth. And I was fortunate enough to have one of your associates, Ken Korak, on my show a number of times. We've talked about the book that he wrote on Bill King, and his goal is to get Bill King into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And maybe you can tell us how is that coming, and did you work with Bill, and what were your experiences with him?
Well, I have to tell you, I am a proud graduate of the Bill King Lon Simmons School of Broadcasting.
Wow.
They are, everything I do, I'm just standing on the shoulders of giants as far as I'm concerned. Those two are the guys that broke me in and made me what I am today. And,
right.
The thing with, we're sitting here today as we speak. We're waiting for the Hall of Fame announcements to come out. And, what people have to remember about the Hall of Fame is it's the Baseball Writers Hall of Fame. It's not the Baseball Fans Hall of Fame. And
right.
That's the context that you have to take it as. And, one of the things as far as the players are concerned is, the people that are considered legends in the game, like Cobb and Ruth, I'm not sure, or Mansell even, would survive the scrutiny that today's candidates are going through. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And
There's two methods of scrutiny. I mean, if you talk about Pete Rose, his scrutiny, you have to disassociate that from the scrutiny that players that literally changed their chemical makeup of their body and cheated the game of baseball. And they're being scrutinized. So, and who didn't, and how do you judge? And do you judge a whole era? Will Bonds and Clemens ever get in? All those. It's also so subjective to the whims of, as you say, the baseball writers themselves.
You know, you also have to remember that there was, you know, the period where baseball actively discouraged guys to do whatever they could to get on the field is fairly recent.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You know,
I remember Sammy Sosa. I think it all started basically with him and his declaration, you can test me anytime you want, that kind of thing. And the union backed him up. And the union worked hand in hand with management and coaches and trainers and minor leagues. It's not just these players. It's just not Clemens and Bonds. It's institutional. So can you blame them? And
you know, you have players played in the era of the 40s, the 50s, 60s, who, you know, their clubhouse staples were amphetamines and cortisone.
Right.
So,
but yet,
you know,
let's just say that unlike steroids, the qualities don't change your chemical makeup with those drugs. And if they're performance enhancers, if speed and maybe even pot, this, that, and the other, if they're performance enhancers, not to the extent, they're certainly not to the extent of what Bonds went through, his miraculous body change and this, that, and the other thing.
I understand where. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well,
the
chemicals themselves did not enhance the players' skills. Okay, what it gave them, it helped their recovery from injuries, or it just, it also, it did give them some strength, but they still needed the skills. And the other thing is, it's all being put on the players, and the bottom line is Major League Baseball knew about it and turned a blind eye to it because they were still recovering from the 1994 strike. And, and McGuire and Sosa, gave first it was Ripken's consecutive game streak, and then McGuire and Sosa gave them an unbelievable boost. And you know what? They would have kept that blind eye if they weren't pressured by Congress. And it's all, but yet, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like Hostess, okay? Like, I'm a union guy. I'm a regular working guy. It's kind of like Hostess closing up. They said, oh, we can't afford to operate, union wages, union benefits, it's too expensive, and trying to blame it on the union. The union gives them millions and millions and millions in concessions, and they accept the concessions, and then the money that, the money they saved, they gave out bonuses and closed the place up and sold the place off. But yet it was all blamed on the union. And the same thing with, with the steroid era. It's all blamed on the players, but guess what? Management was, the institution itself, they were all in cahoots. They were all to blame.
And I think, the system is set up to, where the majority of the guys who are, I don't know if you want to say using or abusing, are, your 23rd, your 24th, your 25th man. So he's faced with a choice every spring. Do I want to, support my family and get this injection, or do I want to leave the game and sell cars?
Right.
That's the choice they face,
But again, is it fair to those who want to do it cleanly, who don't get the chance to play in the majors or don't get the chance to excel? Now, and taking nothing away from Bonds or Clemens, before they were accused of doing drugs, they were Hall of Fame players. So based on statistics, naturally, they should be let in the Hall of Fame. There's rumor that there have been some changes in the voting selection this year, the way they do things. Is there any truth to that, or are we apt to? Could we be just absolutely blown away when Bonds and Clemens are elected this year?
Well, I think that there is a feeling on the electronic side of the media, which has no say, that those guys should get in. But the side of the voting side, the print side, the dynamic between the print guys and the ball players, in the old days, they travel with them, they eat with them, they drink with them, they carpool together. Now, if you're a baseball journalist, your only interaction with the guy is in the dugout or behind the backstop or in the clubhouse. So you're not really on an equal footing. And, if you talk to, like we're talking on the phone now, most of the time a journalist is calling to talk about something off the field that you need to confirm or deny. So the whole dynamic changed there, where it's not as intimate. It's a lot more, on deadline type of relationship.
Right. There's a general mistrust of the press that players have because they have been burned, and especially New York press is Boston looking for scoops, looking for stories, looking for angles and what have you. It's not that way out here in California, is it, John?
Well, when you're talking to a guy, no matter who it is, if you're talking over dinner or drinks, that's one thing. But when you're talking where you want to get your swings in or you're trying to get a shower, that's another thing. It's just a totally different. It's a totally different relationship.
Right. How did you get?
John,
how did you?
I'm sorry, John. Do you think that the electronic journalists that should get a Hall of Fame vote?
Well, in my opinion, the fact that Vin Scully has never got to vote is just ridiculous. I mean, who in the Baseball Writers Association of America has seen more baseball than him?
I can only imagine that Gil Hodges would be in the Hall of Fame today if Vin Scully could have gotten out there and gotten behind him. He's one that should be in, absolutely. And I'm an old New York Giant fan, so for me to have come around this far, of course I'm a Met fan too, and he did something special for the Mets as a manager in '69. He should be in the Hall of Fame. On his baseball statistics alone, not just the managerial genius that brought the '69 Mets to fruition.
I would agree with that. And I just think a lot of the guys from this era who have off-the-field controversies are destined to be slow-walked into the Hall of Fame, maybe not get in until it's posthumous.
Right. Well, Leo DeRocher was one that was never elected in his lifetime.
And you got guys in the Hall now who, without naming names, just campaigned their way in. And you got guys like, Bill King, who we've talked about, who just refused to campaign for it,
Right. He was not that way at all. I want you to tip. Ken Korek has told me on the air so many nice stories about Bill King. He was such a fascinating guy. Tell me some stories. And I asked him jokingly, who's going to write the book on Ken Korek someday? Because, first of all, his pipes notwithstanding, this guy, if anybody has ever heard Ken Korek, it's almost like the voice of God. tell me some Ken Korak stories. Tell me what you admire about him, and I'd like to hear it from you.
Ken and I are pretty close to the same age, and when we broke into broadcasting, the way to get into broadcasting was you went to a small town, you made your mistakes, figured out who you are, and then took your act to the big market and tried to get a job. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, a lot of the people you hear on the air in major market broadcasting, it's their first job ever in radio. So things have really changed.
Oh yes, players and what have you, as
even air personalities, so-called hosts or whatever. But Ken and I go back. He used to do high school games in Petaluma and JC games in Santa Rosa, and A-ball, and he and I go back to.
Did you go to Rohnert Park?
Oh yeah. And
I was the Tops representative up there. That's where I got to meet Ken like 30 years ago. And
well, you know that he used that catchphrase of his, the lights are on, haven't taken effect.
He's a great guy. He really is.
He and I started working together back in the mid '80s at San Jose State doing Spartan football.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, on KCBS, and the thing that I would say about radio is, if you like sausage, don't ask how we make it. And it was just three guys and a microphone, a couple of microphones, doing big time radio. It was a blast. We were hardly making any money.
What would you tell a kid today that wanted to break into radio?
I tell all of them, learn how to write. If you can learn how to write, you can work anywhere.
Very good. That's some concrete advice. That is really very good. Not just, work hard, meet a lot of people. Yeah, that's concrete. I like that. Thank you very much, John. That adds to the broadcast quite a bit. Where do you see the A's being in 5 years? The Oakland A's are now embroiled with a stadium issue, and why don't you review that a little bit for me, because I don't really know exactly where it stands right now, other than they've been sharing a stadium with the Raiders that the Raiders had rebuilt into a football stadium. It was a very nice park. It wouldn't have lasted forever. It had a beautiful view, and the Raiders just made it football. Now the Raiders are about to go. How does this leave the A's, and how does this leave the A's ballpark situation?
Well, it leaves a bad taste for those of us who love baseball, because the team is the number one tenant of that facility. I mean, no one is there more dates than the A's, but they're kind of a stepchild to the county, because football is America's passion, and the Warriors are on a hot streak now, which is fantastic, and you're in danger of being an afterthought, even though you're booking more dates than anybody else. And I always joke with people who ask me about new ballpark. I said, well, the politicians are waiting for the new construction workers to be born, and then we'll start on the ballpark.
Right. That's going to happen in a long time, in other words.
Yeah. I mean, you will get in a senior discount.
And this past year brought a Supreme Court decision, basically, that, or at least was it Supreme Court or California Supreme Court, that disallows them from going to San Jose, which I think was their main goal.
Yeah, and, politically, I do not understand how
the Giants have territorial rights, that sort of thing. How did that get in place in the first place? How did that become?
Well, you know, when the A's were hot with the House family, they were winning and going to the postseason every year. The Giants were in danger of leaving, and you know, I don't think Walter Haas gets the credit that he deserves for his, you know, not only his, you know, his custodial work that he did with the Oakland A's, but he basically said, hey, you know, the Giants are good for the Bay Area. You know, if you want to move to San Jose, you know, we'll let you have the territory. And the Giants never used it, so, you know, it would be understandable if the A's wanted to use it, that they'd be allowed to use it. But
so he voluntarily gave up. He voluntarily gave that territory to the A's, to the Giants.
When it looked like it was either the Giants move to San Jose or move out of state, he said, "Hey, you know, if you need San Jose, we'll give you San Jose."
Wow!
But you know,
didn't know that.
But today's climate, you know, the powers that be are saying, "Hey, it's ours now. It's ours forever."
Do you think if the Raiders left town, that would help the A's situation?
On the face of it, sure, because you know you could stay in the baseball configuration. You'd have less flexing of your schedule to worry about. And
well, what about in the context of maybe getting a new stadium?
Good question. Absolutely. I can't see them playing in this thing forever. Even if they refurbish it, it still is a cookie-cutter park. Would they consider tearing down the Al Davis monstrosity in center field again?
I just don't see politically how anything is going to get done with public money. So, you know, now you've got to have somebody with creative financing skills to make that happen.
Well, they have a prototype. The Giants did it pretty much with their own money.
But there was the political will to get that done also.
That's true. Absolutely correct on that one. And
I'm not sure if the Giants got that land for a song or if they had to pay market rate for that land either.
Let's just assume you weren't involved with the A's. You were just a fan, and for the best interest of the A's, do you think they should move? I'm just throwing it out there. Would they do better in maybe Vegas or San Antonio? Is that just for the franchise sake?
I do not know that market that well. As far as Vegas goes, I think that they would be competing with a lot of other stuff for the, entertainment dollar. Right. As far as San Antonio goes, I'm not sure how strong a baseball hotbed it is, and I would
not.
Think that,
it's not.
Yeah, I would think they'd be forced.
Yeah. I'm sorry. There have been studies done on this, and I don't know if Major League Baseball would allow a team to move to Vegas. Although, but the other thing is about Vegas is
they have a AAA team. They don't mind.
They do have a AAA team, but you know what? I wonder if a team would want to move to Vegas. The ball flies there. You see we've seen over the years the trouble that Colorado has had constructing a pitching staff. All you got to do is look at the AAA batting stats and pitching stats and how the batting stats go one way, the pitching stats they go another. You know, it's like, and San Antonio now, they wouldn't support it. I read something, and it was a pretty extensive article, maybe 6-8 months ago, and they talked about like where else could baseball go, and there really weren't, you know, a lot of places left, if any place left.
Well, you know, I've heard rumors about Montreal. I mean, they missed the Expos.
I have heard that.
Pardon me?
With regards to Montreal, I think you're in the same boat stadium-wise as they are now in Oakland. And with regards to San Antonio, you know, with the weather, I think you'd have to play the vast majority of your games at night. And with Vegas, you'd have that same problem, and you have the proximity to the sports books. And the whole thing with DraftKings and what's the other fantasy?
FanDuel.
Yeah.
FanDuel.
That thing's being litigated now. I think they got thrown out of New York.
I don't know if they've actually been thrown out, but I do know that the Attorney General is pushing hard. I don't know if they've had to suspend operations in New York yet. But it's close. It's close.
And that's probably a gray area. That's probably a gray area that no team wants to commit to Vegas until that's settled.
And John, let me ask you a few questions. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and also particularly after Commissioner Manfred ruled, to not allow Pete Rose back into baseball. So, not that I disagree with his ruling, but that's probably again, if they put a team in Vegas, well, wait, you put a team in Vegas, but you got you have a problem with Pete Rose. He says he still legally gambles. You think it's crazy that he has an office across the street from a sports book and things like that. So,
well, that's back to our original discussion of the off the field things should that be a consideration for Cooperstown?
Right. John, let me ask you a few questions about your day-to-day stuff with the A's. What's the most fun in your job? And conversely, what do you hate most on a day-to-day basis of producing a major league broadcast? I mean, let's not sell that short. That's big time. How old are you now, John?
I'll be 55 this summer.
And how long have you been doing this?
I started doing visiting teams in the summer of '81.
Okay, so from a very young age. Go ahead.
Yeah, the first major league ball game I ever went to, I was 8 years old, and my dad took us to see the Seattle Pilots and the Washington Senators. And
that must have been 1969.
Yeah, Diego Segui and Frank Howard were the first major league ball players I ever saw.
Wow.
Uncle Frank.
Ron Santo was the star of Franklin High School and went on to play for the Cubs, and he was the biggest ball player that ever came out of Seattle.
Yeah. And you were hooked. Who took you to your game?
It was that day. My dad took me and my brother Dave to Six Stadium, which is long gone. A little wooden, rickety bleachers type place. And, if you wanted to, you could stand out on the game from left field.
Wow. And what was your first day like with the A's? You're the producer. What was it? Just your first day? Did you lead up to it? Was it what was it like?
When I started doing the home radio show, we were on KSFO, and I was part-time in the studio and part-time in the stadium, depending on where they wanted me. In the old days, when you were in the stadium, you were the booth guy. They had what's called a ticker, and it was basically a teletype that you'd see like in the old movies, where a strip of paper would come out with scores from other ball games. And part of your job was to read the ticker tape and give Lon and Bill the scores and the pitchers and the home runs from the other games.
And you were just it wasn't you were just keeping up that way, and they'd fill in during weeks and what have you, what's happening out of town, and it came on the ticker. Was the ticker always reliable? Or,
it was reliable, but it was very slow, and it was very loud. So it was like you were sitting next to a railroad track.
Yeah.
Lon
and Bill worked so beautifully together for so many years. What a pleasure that had to be for you. Both very, very, very with it people outside of the world of baseball, and that had to be wonderful for you. Like you say, what a broadcasting school to have learned from.
It was awesome. There was no they were totally unflappable. No matter what happened in front of them or behind them, they were complete and total pros. Could handle anything, and I think had a deep mutual respect for each other that was spanned decades.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Thank you for being on. This is basically we're trying it new, Wayne and I. We're going all sports. I've been doing Comfortably Zoned Radio for 3 or 4 years. I have fun with baseball. Life is a big pain for me. I'm talking about the unholy trinity, what I refer to as big business, government, and organized religion, and how things are messed up, and this guy is there. I want to finish it out with all sports, and
baseball is great.
Baseball is just great, and I heard the enthusiasm in your voice that comes through about your first baseball, Diego Segui. What a name from when I was growing up. I'm a little older than both of you guys. You're about the same age, aren't you, Wayne, as John?
I'm 61, so I'm not too far off.
Yeah, that's close. You can't beat fun at the old ballpark. I mean, where else are you going to sit down and have a beer with a Republican or a rabbi and talk about something you all love?
Right. No matter, we all have that common denominator and memories. And like I say, whoever it was that took you to those games, with me was my grandfather, with you was your dad, and you went with your brother. Wayne, do you remember your first game?
I do, and you know what? My father and my brother were not at all into sports. I went myself, and even though I was a Yankees fan, we lived 4 subway stops from Shea Stadium. My first game was at Shea Stadium. It was Old Timers Day against the Braves, and the Mets romped. And as you know, the Mets were not very good then. I'm not sure. It might have been 63 or 64. I can't remember for sure. But it was, and I went with my friend Glenn Weiss.
I don't remember that name from the neighborhood.
No, he was, So, but again, I remember, and I'm not positive, but I can't remember who hit a home run, but it was to right field, and I remember Aaron jumped up like over the wall. I thought he snared it, okay, and then it might have been Crane Pool, but I can't say for sure. I'll bet if I dug into like old score sheets and found Old Timers Day around that time,
right,
I can easily find the score sheet of the game. And I do remember they won. It was like a 9-0, 9-1 score. So it shouldn't be too hard to track. So one of these days,
I'm sure that memory of Henry Aaron going over the fence and trying to catch that ball will be in your head for the rest of your life.
Always. I thought he had it. I was like, oh, man, one of those. But, so.
All right. Yeah. Hey, thank you both for being here. Thanks for being zoned. I really
it was a lot of fun. Thank you.
On the air. If you had fun, I implore you to please come back sometime.
Sure, I'd love to do it anytime.
And good. Ralph, you have to give John my phone number because I have to expand his culinary experience.
Why don't you befriend each other on Facebook?
All right, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Get a hold of.
And I want you both to go to the Comfortably Zoned group page today and look at what I posted. Some pictures of old-time ballparks.
I already saw that. They're fantastic.
Were they terrific or what?
Oh yeah.
Wonderful for hot stove days like today.
Yeah. I mean, I could go on and on about those old-time ballparks.
Please come back and do so, and come back on a regular basis, John. And
Thanks, Rob.
Say hello to Ken for me when you do, and I'd like to have you both on together someday and meet Wayne.
Great, I appreciate it.
Wayne, thank you again for everything over the years, and I'm going to end the segment the way I always have. Wayne, if you'll excuse me, I can't change this. I hope it's okay. I'm going to implore you both and my listening audience to keep your dreams wet, keep your humor dry, keep your kids out of the recruiting stations and off the laps of clerics that wear dresses. And keep on, everybody. Talk to you soon. Adios.
Okay. So long. Bye-bye.